There was a smile that never seemed to fade, a routine that ran like clockwork, and a presence that others described as comforting, even inspiring. To most people, it seemed like a life that had been figured out, a life balanced between responsibility and joy. Compliments came easily from others, often describing strength, positivity, and resilience, but what no one saw was how heavy that smile had become. Each morning began with effort. Not the kind of effort that builds ambition, but the kind that pulls someone out of a place they don't want to leave. Getting out of bed felt like lifting something invisible yet unbearably heavy. Thoughts arrived before the day even started, quiet but persistent, whispering doubts, replaying failures, predicting exhaustion. Still, the routine continued. The mirror reflected a version of someone who looked ready, presentable, capable, the kind of person who others would never question. The smile practiced itself again, carefully placed like armor before stepping into the world, and the world responded exactly as expected. There were conversations filled with laughter, responsibilities handled with precision, and moments where everything looked completely normal. People leaned in, trusted, shared their own struggles, finding comfort in someone who seemed so steady. It became a role that was played so well, no one thought to look deeper, but nights told a different story. When the noise faded and the distractions disappeared, everything that had been held back began to rise. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud in its own way, filled with thoughts that refused to be ignored. Questions without answers. Feelings without names. There was a weight that settled in the chest, a tightness that made breathing feel like work. Sleep didn't come easily. Even when it did, it felt temporary, fragile, easily broken by the return of restless thoughts. It wasn't sadness in the way people usually understood it. It was something quieter. Emptier. A sense of being disconnected, even while surrounded by people. A feeling of going through the motions without truly being present. Days blurred together, achievements felt meaningless, and even moments of joy seemed distant, like something being watched instead of experienced. Yet every morning, the same pattern repeated. The smile returned, because it had to. There was an unspoken belief that showing the truth would change everything. That people would see weakness instead of strength. That the image carefully built over time would collapse in an instant. So it stayed hidden, buried under routines and expectations, until one ordinary moment shifted everything. It happened in a place that didn't seem significant. A quiet pause in the middle of a busy day. Nothing dramatic. Nothing planned, just a simple interaction. There was no deep conversation, no dramatic confession. Just a presence, someone who noticed something slightly off. Not the obvious kind of noticing, but the kind that lingers just long enough to feel real. A small moment of genuine attention that didn't rush, didn't assume, didn't demand, and in that moment, something unfamiliar happened. The usual response, the automatic smile, the quick reassurance, hesitated. For the first time in a long time, there was a pause between what was felt and what was shown. It was subtle, almost invisible, but it was enough. That brief hesitation created a crack in the wall that had been built so carefully. A small opening where something real could exist, even if just for a second, and nothing dramatic followed. No sudden release. No immediate transformation, but something shifted internally. For the first time, it felt possible that being seen didn't have to mean being judged. That night, the silence returned as it always did, but it felt slightly different. The thoughts were still there. The weight hadn't disappeared. The restlessness still lingered, yet within all of that, there was something new, a small awareness that maybe the struggle didn't have to stay completely hidden. That maybe the version shown to the world didn't have to carry everything alone. It wasn't a solution, it was a beginning. In the days that followed, nothing changed on the surface. The routine remained. The responsibilities stayed the same. The smile still appeared when needed, but internally, there was a slow shift. A quiet questioning of long-held beliefs. The idea that strength meant silence began to feel less true. The fear that being open would lead to rejection started to lose its certainty. The possibility of being understood, even in small ways, became something worth considering. It didn't lead to immediate action, healing rarely does. Instead, it showed up in small, almost unnoticeable ways. Moments of honesty in private thoughts. A willingness to acknowledge feelings instead of pushing them away. A growing awareness that what was being experienced wasn't weakness, it was something many people carried, even if it wasn't visible. And that realization changed everything, because it removed the isolation. The belief of being alone in the struggle began to fade. Not completely, but enough to make space for something else. Understanding. Compassion. Even toward oneself, the nights didn't instantly become peaceful, but they became more manageable. The thoughts didn't disappear, but they lost some of their power, and the smile, it slowly started to change, not in how often it appeared, but in what it represented. It was no longer just a shield. It became something softer, something more real. Not forced, not perfect, but honest in its own way, because behind it, there was now an understanding that breaking inside didn't mean being broken completely, that unseen struggles didn't make someone weak, they made them human, and that sometimes, all it takes is one small moment of being noticed to begin seeing yourself differently, not as someone who has to hide, but as someone who is allowed to heal, slowly and quietly, and, most importantly, honestly.